This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so good morning, all. I hope all are able to hear me and all are able to see my screen. And as part of the last week, we started with the visualizations, and we are done with these visualizations, like all bar charts and all line charts, bar with a line, and ribbon, funnel, pie chart, donut chart, and a card and slicer table matrix, and so these visuals we covered so far, along with the map and filled map also. So as part of today's session, we are going to see a few more visuals, like waterfall chart, similarly the tree map chart and a multi row cart chart. Similarly, KPI code and a Guage visualization we are going to observe as part of today's session. Okay. So the first visualization is, like you already know about a card visualization, which will be used to represent a single value like a sales. And if you want to represent a profit also, it will override the sales. It is not going to represent of sales and profit together. If I want to represent a sales and profit again, so I need to create a one more visual which is going to represent a sales information also. So like that, we need to maintain a separate card whenever we want to represent a summary. Instead of doing that, like we have an option called multi-row card, which is going to accept multiple individual values together, and it is going to represent in a single visualization. So if you observe now, like first profit and sales, so 1689, 1689, 118, 118, and units sold also added. So if you have a multiple values or multiple summary values to represent, at that time, instead of using individual card visualizations, you can use multi-row card also. So after card, you have this one multi-row card. So Ramesh, any issues? Able to hear me?
Yes, I can able to hear it,
Oh,
Srinivas.
yeah.
No issue from my side.
Okay. So if you want to represent a multiple single values, we are going to use multi-row card. Input, we just need to add that fields here, the aggregated fields, and it has an option to represent a dimension also here. Even if you add a dimension, what will happen is at each country level, overall value it is going to represent it. So this is not available as part of a card visualization. By using a multi-row card, you can add a multiple values at the same time. At the same time, it will allow you to add a dimension. Whenever you add a dimension, like it is going to separate based on the each category. like here we are going to represent each category level overall value we are going to see. These are the inputs that we are going to provide. Then after, call out value is nothing but the value associated with each category, that is a call out value. If you want to change the color, you can change the color, and you can change the font family, font background, font size, everything for that call out value. And similarly, if you want to give underline italic, you can make it. Now, that is all about a call out value. Category label is nothing but like the value, the labels of that fields. If you want to change it, you can change it, and you can observe that only the labels of the value got changed. And if you don't want, you can disable it. If you want, you can enable it. Then after, card, here, like cards, like each one row is a one card here. And here, what is the font size, font color, and I am changing it as a pink. You can observe that these labels got updated with a pink, and a font size increased. Similarly, you can change the font family, bold, italic, underline, and similarly, it has an option called a style. A style is nothing but a border position. It is saying if you want to enable a border, you can enable it, and I'm enabling for a bottom. If you observe, for each and every card, you have a bottom border enabled, and you can change the color of it, and you can change that outline width of it, and you can change the background color for each card. And padding is nothing but a space, as I mentioned before. If you want to increase the space between the cards, you can use it, otherwise you can reduce it. And similarly, ascent bar is nothing but the line that you have at the left side here. And if you don't want, you can disable it. If you want, you can enable it. And the color, you can provide anything, you can provide there. So this is all about the properties that you have with a multi-row card. So whenever you want to represent a single overall value, you can use a card. But whenever you want to use a multiple overall values, you are going to use a multi-row card. And by using this multiple aggregated values, you can represent at the same time. This can be added a dimension also. For each category level, we are going to get a separate cards here. That is all about a multi-row card. Then after, the next visualization is gauge visualization. Some people will call it as a gauge visualization. It can be gauge or gauge. This one. So this visual, generally, we are going to represent actual versus target. Whenever we want to represent what is our target, how much you achieved, in order to convey that on a overall, we are going to use gauge. You observed conditional formatting in a table and a matrix visualization. So that at each row item level, we represented conditional formatting. But if you want to represent at a overall level, whether we met our target or not, at that time, gauge visualization we are going to use. Let's consider with a small example. Let me enter some sample data here to observe that one. Like I'm placing data for three columns here. One I am calling it as product, actual, target, P1, 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 P2, 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 P3, P3, and a P3. My target is 100 for everywhere. Let's assume. In order to make the things easier, I will, for all the same products, I will give the same value, but you can give a different value also based on your interest. So I loaded the data. So once I loaded the data, you can observe that one we have product, actual and target. Now, in a overall, what is my actual value? I can represent by using a value here. I can represent by using a value here. So this is 855 is my actual value. What is my target? I can add a target here. My target is 900. So out of 900, we met till 855. We are not crossed the target. So on a overall data, if you want to represent whether you met your target or not, you can use Guage visualization. Okay. So here you have other options also to represent the minimum value. Similarly, maximum value and target and a tooltip. So minimum and maximum I need to place it. If you have the data, you can place it. But what it is going to convey is it is going to take the input of four parameters called maximum, maximum, target, and actual. Once we provide that actual value and once we provide a target, it is going to showcase whether we met our target or not. Now, if I keep my slicer here and if I select P1, it is going to convey that I crossed my target. When I select a P2, it is saying that I am not reached the target. P3 not reached the target. Okay, so at a overall level I met the target, but individual level in only P1 I met the target. In a P2 or a P3 I didn't met the target. So at a overall level, whether I met the target or not, to convey that we are going to use it. And if you want each item level you met the target or not, so in this scenario you have a conditional formatting. You are going to implement some logic and you are going to enable the background color or font color whether it reached the target or not. Okay, so in this scenario, as all are 300, what I can do is cell elements, background color for actual, background color, and here the lowest value I'll mark it as 300, and I will change the color to here custom 301. So if you observe here, like P2 and P3 not met the target because my target is 300, I provide a static value. As this is crossed a target, I provide some background color. So at the overall level, if you want to see actual versus target, you are going to use this gauge visualization. But if you have multiple categories and if you want to observe at the time, creating a multiple gauge visuals is going to occupy more space. At that time we have a conditional formatting which we already discussed. Now the inputs, as I mentioned, it is having inputs as minimum maximum. If you have, you can provide that. And here we have format options under a gauge axis. You are able to see minimum and maximum. Whatever the value that you are unable to provide here, that can be addressed by using the gauge axis. And I'm saying that my maximum value is 1000. Okay, So it is saying that the overall 1000 as a maximum value that I am going to get, and out of 900 as a target, 855 I received. Similarly, I can provide a minimum value also. Then after colors, what is the fill color? What is the target color? The fill color I am making it as this one, and target color I am making it as this one. You can change the colors based on your requirement. Data labels, which is nothing but a 0 and a 1000. If you don't want, you can disable. If you want, you can enable. And then after, you can provide your own color for that. And then after bold, then after font size I'm increasing, and how you want to represent, how many decimal places and everything you can configure. And a target label is nothing but this one. If you don't want, you can disable. If you want, you can enable. And similarly, you can increase that font size of the target, and you can change that font size. And similarly, call out value is nothing but this one. And if you want to customize that one, you can change the color, and you don't have an option to reduce the font size. And you can change the font family. Okay, so that is all about Guage visualization that we have. So to represent actual versus target at a overall level, we can use this one. The next visualization is the next visualization is we have like a tree map visualization. A tree map visualization is going to occupy more area based on the value. So in this scenario, I am using country-wise sales amount. So if you observe this visualization, more area was occupied here, then after here, then after here, then after here, and then after here. Observe like 2502, 2488, 2435, 2350, 2949. So this tree map visualization is going to occupy more area based on the data size. And here we can add a second dimension as usual, and there also it is going to subdivide based on the segment. You can observe that in this first one called US, like where you have a small business is having a highest portion 1145, 8390, 4346, 43 means 4350605, whereas here it is 6 digits, here it is 7 digits. Okay, this is a lower than this one, and here you have a 366. So like that, at each category it is going to subdivide, and it is going to occupy the area based on the value. And here the other input parameters that we have is like a category, detailed values, and tooltip. Tooltip you already know. The settings that you have, legend, if you want, you can enable it, which is going to tell each color what is the category. The next one, colors, if you want to change the colors, you can change it. Data labels, which is nothing but a values, if you want to enable, you can enable. And whenever you enable, like how you want to represent in a million or thousand or actual value, none means actual value will come, and you can specify thousands, millions, billions, trillions also based on your requirement. That is all about data labels. And the category labels is nothing but the small business, government, and all those things. And if you don't want, you can disable. If you want, you can enable. Then after, you can provide that font color, font family, and everything. That is all about tree map visualization. So the next one is waterfall chart. This waterfall chart generally like software development life cycle, people used to hear about that in engineering, you have a course called software engineering. In a software development, we used to have a life cycle called waterfall and agile. There, people used to hear about a waterfall. Similarly, here also we have a waterfall chart. A waterfall is nothing but one after another. So in a waterfall, each and every step is going to happen one after another. So all will not start at the same place. One after another, it is going to start. So here in a waterfall chart, so whenever you provided like any dimension and a category, you observe that this data is represented each category first, after that other category was represented, after that another category was represented, after that another category was represented, after that another category was represented. And here you can add other dimension also, like whatever the name it is. It can be a breakdown, it can be a legend, it can be axis, whatever. After the first dimension, the second dimension you can add, like I'm adding second dimension also. So it is going to tell that for each and every category that we represented, which is nothing but a country, like further it was represented a values, like it is like currently I added a product, like let me add a segment. So I add a segment here. You can observe that the segment government we are having. So like we are having government segment, we are like here it is a 25209, here it is 839076, then after 366, then after like 510, then after 4350, then after like it is 11456. So what it is showing is at each country level, one after another the values are represented. Wherever it got reduced, it is represented in a red color. In order to understand this one easily with one dimension I'm proceeding. So waterfall means first one value will be represented, after that value is completed next value will be represented, after that next value will be represented, after that next value will be represented, after that next value will be represented. Whenever we have a sequential data is available at that time, like you are going to use a waterfall chart. What do you mean by sequential data? Technically people used to call it as a workflow data also. Like let's assume if you want to apply for a passport, like whenever you register your slot and whenever you go to that passport office, like you have multiple sections will be there. So first you need to go and like submit your documents, they will verify, then after you need to go somewhere, then after you need to go somewhere, then after you need to go somewhere, multiple sections will be there. So there, if the management want to understand at each phase level how many people are there, let's assume like phase 1 we have 100 people, phase 2 you have 200 people, phase 3 300 people, phase 3 300 people means they crossed all these phases. So if they wanted to see that sequential information, they can use a waterfall chart. So the properties that we have here are x-axis. X-axis is nothing but that the same properties that we have at a bar chart also. Like these things, if you want, you can enable. If you don't want, you can disable. And you can change the font color here. And then after, like you can change the font family, font size, bold, italic, underline. You can configure everything. Then after title, a title is nothing but this one. If you don't want, you can disable it. And then after layout, you don't have any other layout, like minimum category width. The category width is nothing but this one. The bar size, if you want to increase, you can increase it. And currently like you have good space, that is why it is not changed anything. And y axis, Like if you want to provide any range, you can provide it. Let's assume I wanted to limit this one 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 100 lakh. Okay, so you can provide the range also. Based on that, y-axis will come, and the values, these ones if you don't want, you can disable. Title, if you disable, you can make it. Legend, which color is representing what, you can enable or disable. Here you have an option like where you want to place, and text color, font color, you can make it. The grid lines, by default it was disabled here. And for a columns, like what is the color that you want to make. For increase, like you have a green, you can change the color also. And for a decrease, you can change the color. And other, you can represent a different color, like where show total we have, the show total we represented here, different color we can change. And a space between the categories, you can observe that, like a space is different, width is different. A space is nothing but, like in this scenario we are referring about this one, like these things, what is the space between each bar. And previously width means each bar width, these two are different. Like we provide a space, data labels, you can enable it. And whenever you are enabled data label, you have an option to vertically or horizontally enabling the data labels. Then after, you can provide like a position, inside center, inside end, outside end, where you want to place, you can place it. Similarly, value, the font size you can have. And data label font size, like data label font size, I'm just making it as a 20. And color, not sure why this is not replicating the color. So I enabled the font size only, and I wanted to change the color. It has some issue, I think. Then after display units, I want to represent in millions or a thousands. Why the color is not changing? Okay, that is fine. So background, if you want, you can enable, and you can provide like a white background. And now I want to change the color. It has some color issue, like this property issue with the visual, but it will work for you, I feel. Plot area background, if you want to provide any background image, you can provide the image there. You have a fill options, you can arrange it based on your need. So this is all about waterfall chart. The next visualization is, so we are done with waterfall, we are done with the tree map, we are done with the gas, and multi-row, this one. And the second one is, we have a KPI visualization. KPI visualization. A KPI visualization also similar to like this one only, Guage visualization only, but that is representing a visual. This is kind of a card. In this scenario, like you can represent your actual as part of x-axis, your target you can represent under a target, and you can represent axis under a product. So whenever you observe this one, by default it is representing for the product P3. P3, if you observe, like I didn't filter anything, I provide actual, I provide a target, I provide a product. It is showing 250, 270, and the goal is 300. But if I see this one in a detailed way, it is representing for a P3. So that is having some issue there. But whenever you select a P1, It is clearly giving that P1 values where your target or goal is nothing but the target or goal is nothing but a 300. The actual value is at 330 and we met our target. It is representing in a green color. Similarly, whenever you select a P2, your actual is 255, the goal is 300, and whenever we select a P3, like I can say that actual is 270 and the target is 300. This is what it is showing. So this KPI card is kind of a card visual which is going to take actual and target values, and it is going to represent whether it is met the target or not, and it is giving the difference of percentage to reach the target also. But the limitation that it has is it is not taking the overall value, it is taking the only one category value it is taking. But whenever you select individual categories, it is working fine. Now the properties that we have here are call out value. A call out value is nothing but this one, and you can make it underline so that you can observe that this is that value. And horizontal alignment, vertical alignment, you can make it wherever you want to place. And then after which is nothing but display units is nothing but you can mention thousands, none, millions. Based on your interest you can specify. And when you mention in thousands or millions, what is that number of decimal places you can mention. And icons is nothing but whatever you observe this icon, that the tick mark and everything. So icons, if you don't want, you can disable that. You can observe that the icon got removed. And whenever you enable, నరేష్ కింద లోపల రూమ్లో బెంచ్లు అన్ని కలిపి ఉన్నాయి, ఇది పక్కన పెట్టేవా. So icons, whenever you disable it, we lost that icon. And whenever you enable it, you got it. And what is the icon size? 20. So if you observe, you have a different icon came based on the value. And if you remove it, you lost that icon. Trend axis. A trend axis is nothing but what you are observing here. And if you don't want, you can remove it. Okay. And whenever you enable it, you can mention high is good or low is good, which means that there are some scenarios if you are getting high value than actual, that is good. There are some scenarios if you get a low values, if you get a low values than target, that is good. So based on your KPI you can mention that low is good or high is good. So what is the good color, what is the neutral color, what is the bad color, you can specify. And a target label is nothing but a goal. You want to display goal or not. And if you are don't want, that is okay. And if you want, you can enable it. And when you enable it, what is the font color and what is the label. Instead of a goal, I just want to mention it as a target. And a distance to goal is nothing but the percentage. If you want or you don't want, you can specify that. Then after date, like so now whenever you enable that, exact category information will be displayed. Generally we are going to use the dates, that was the reason it is showing. And you can enable and you can provide that font color also. So that is all about KPI visualization. It is also similar to Guage, which is going to take actual versus target, and it is showing whether it met the target or not. What Guage is not giving is distance, it is not giving. And what KPI is giving is it is providing a distance also. This is about KPI card visualization. Okay. So with this, we are done with these visualizations. And now, tomorrow, we are going to verify about this one line like a stacked area visualization. Along with that, we are going to observe a scatter chart. Along with that, we are going to observe related to the card and that slicer, advanced card, advanced slicer. Along with that, smart narratives and a decision tree. These are the visualization that we are going to see. And if possible, goal also. With that, we are going to complete our visualizations module. Why we are not going to cover this one, we will discuss tomorrow. You will get a clarity. And hopefully, I'll try to close the visualizations by tomorrow. If required, we'll extend for one more day also. And I hope you have all the videos received through a drive. And I hope you are going to practice. And if you have any questions, you can ping me on a WhatsApp. As of now, any questions, anyone having? Ashwini, any questions so far?
No, sir.